Well, good evening and welcome everyone to tonight's online community forum, Straight Talk, about coronavirus and how it is impacting people in our community. My name is Pamela Duncan, and I am the President and CEO of Metropolitan Development Council, also known as MDC. I am joined this evening by Tawana Nobles, President and CEO of the Tacoma Urban League, who we are partnering with for this series of conversations.
Thank you, Pam. Everyone, tonight is the second conversation in a series of conversations where we are diving into the impacts of COVID-19 and how this pandemic is impacting Tacoma and Pierce County. And tonight we are so excited because we have a panel of millennials and Gen Zers who are going to share with us their insights, their thoughts, and the impact that coronavirus is having on their lives.
Yeah, we'll be here for the community throughout the COVID-19 series with new conversations every Monday evening at 5 p.m. We really felt that it was important to begin to have these conversations and really talk about coronavirus and what we call straight talk, that this isn't about the myths, this is about what is happening in our communities. The most important message throughout this series of conversations is that there is hope for our community. Our focus is to create space in each meeting to talk about resources and things that we all can be doing to help during this pandemic. Throughout today's conversation, you can submit questions to be addressed by our speakers using the question and answer function in Zoom. We cannot promise that we'll have time to consider every question. We will do our best. We want to make certain that we get through the list in our allotted time. And then as a housekeeping matter, and for the security of everyone on this call, everyone's mic has been muted during this call, and we are not allowing folks to show their faces on video. At some point during the call, that probably will happen. We just want to ensure that we are providing security for everyone. We've disabled the chat function, so if you have a question, if you just send your question to the moderator through the Q&A, then we will get those questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Pam. Well, tonight we are joined by our conversation facilitator, Antonio McLemore. Antonio, if you will please introduce yourself as well as the panelists that are joining us tonight.
Okay. Well, my name is Antonio McLemore, and I'm the program manager for the Male Involvement Program, where we serve 120 students on a weekly basis, four different schools within the Tacoma School District. And I've invited some students, a diverse group of young Generation Zs, and I think one of the things that we've been talking about that's imperative is there is a lot of people talking about COVID-19 and the impact that it's having on our community, but I think it's imperative and even consequential that we hear from our students and we hear for their lens, their perspective. And so I've invited a group of young kings and queens to this dialogue, and I'm hoping that in our dialogue, I think that that the experts, if I can say that are doing this work can be enlightened. One of the things that I've learned from working with young people is that really being an expert is only being a student. And so I would encourage all of the adults that are present that we would be open-minded and that we would seek to understand their perspective and their lens, because I truly believe that we can learn from it. And so I'm just incredibly, appreciative that I get this opportunity. So I want to thank you, MDC, thank you, Tawana, that I get this opportunity to host and facilitate a conversation. I'm going to try my best not to speak as much as I typically do, But because I am a talker, for those who know me, but I want to just ensure that we create space and a dialogue where we can prioritize the voices of our youth. So I don't. Is it okay if maybe I do have? It's kind of like a quick intro, but I would like to, even maybe more so than me doing an intro, that maybe if we had the students do a quick intro. Is that okay? Is that okay to do, Tawana, or?
Yeah, that's great. If folks can say their name and grade or school that they're currently attending. And if the panelists will also just keep your microphones muted, because we can hear just paper and pencils shuffling. So everyone just mute your microphone. And if you aren't a panelist, please turn off your camera. So Antonio, you can start.
Go ahead, Daunte. Go ahead, Daunte. You can go first.
Hey, I'm Daunte. I go to Oakland High School. I'm in 12th grade.
And what school do you go to?
I said Oakland High School. My bad. I'm sorry.
Okay. No. Okay. Thank you. Simone, go ahead. You can go next.
Hi, I'm Simone. I'm a senior and I attend Fife High School.
There we go. All right, Jodea.
Hi, I'm Judea. I go to Rogers High School. I'm a junior.
There we go. And he also just got his license, so be careful on the roads if you see him. He just got his license. Okay, RJ, go ahead. Tap in.
All right, my name is RJ. I'm a sophomore and I go to school at Curtis High School.
There you go. Thanks, RJ. Romello.
My name is Romello. I'm in 6th grade and I go to First Creek Middle School.
There we go. Thanks, Romello. Let's see here. And then I don't know. Brian's a part of our team. He helps us in. He's a mentor to some of our students on Wednesday and Thursday to our virtual call that we've made available to the community. And so he's kind of tapped in as a community member to kind of help support. He's also a senior. But Brian, we want to go ahead and just check in real quick or tap in.
Hello, my name is Brian Martinez. I am a senior at the Evergreen State College.
Thank you. And then,
Gabe?
I'm sorry, yes, go ahead.
Gabe, how about you?
Hi, my name is Gabe. I'm a sophomore at Curtis High School.
Thank you, Gabe. And there's someone else. Broke Lemon. Sorry, I don't know your name, my brother. Oh, hold on. I know. Okay, I think I know that face.
Hey, my name is Denon Mosley. I'm a sophomore in, I go to Wilson.
There we go.
So, don't mind the broke lemon. My name is Denon Mosley.
Yeah, I heard that you messed up. You burnt your dad's eggs. I seen that on Facebook.
I wasn't actually cooking that day. My little brother was, though. He burned the eggs, so it was a little catastrophe.
Hey, it's all good, but you're a leader. You're a leader and a scholar, man. That you make yourself available to make a breakfast for your parents. So small acts of kindness. Good job.
Thank you.
And Sophia.
Hi. My name is Sophia. I actually do the graphic design work for Antonio. I've helped out a little bit with Tacoma Urban League and a couple of different ministries. I work at Life Center Church, and I'm actually in my last week of school. I will be graduating at the end of this week from Northwest University with a business degree. So,
there we go. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And then you start the real job hunting, the real world.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, JJ, are you able to turn your video on, JJ?
You said what? I'm not home right now, but my name is JJ, and I go to First Street Middle School, and I'm in 8th grade.
There we go. Well, JJ, I've been telling everyone, in preparation for this video, that I really do look forward to your transparency and being straightforward in our dialogue. And I think,
Yes,
man,
sir.
I'm really excited, just to have a dialogue with, so many young people with perspective. So I just want to thank you for being here. And if you're not in a place where you can turn on your video, that's fine, just as long as you have your audio, available. So, you
Yes,
call.
sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And then we have another gentleman as well. I think we already met him, but Nick Jeffries, another volunteer who has just stepped in as another community member to support some of our young students. I know he's moving around, so he's turned his video off. But maybe if you want to do a quick introduction, Nick, if you can hear me. And if not, we can get started. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, hi guys, my bad. My name is Nick Jeffries. I'm a community member. I'm a volunteer with the Tacoma Urban League. And I thought it'd be a valuable experience to hear this type of stuff and hear the experiences of the youth in this community.
That's good. Thank you, Nick. Thank you. All right, well, let's get started. I am a firm believer. I call myself an educator, and in whatever space I'm in, we, as educators, we have, whether it be curriculum or whether it be, our agenda or plans or questions. I think one of the things that's a priority is that we make sure that the listeners or the students that are in the room, that they know that they're the most valuable thing, even more important than my questions. And so I want to just we can popcorn it. We don't have to go through everyone, but I do want to take the time before we kind of get into questions, just asking how each and every one of you are doing individually with this. We're in the middle of a crisis. We're in a pandemic, and I just want to know, before we even kind of go beyond, your perspective, but just how are you doing in this season? How are you managing? So that's kind of just on a personal level. How are you doing?
Well, I guess I'll share. Well, my name is Daunte. I just say this is all this stuff going on for me is a little bit over my head. It's a little difficult because I was just getting, this year was my first year of having stability in my home. And so I was just getting able to, make sure my grades are good enough, make sure I'm doing everything I need to do in school to graduate. And now it's sort of a little difficult because we're switching all to online, and some of the teachers it's hard to get in contact with. It's just a bunch of things that are piling up that's making it more challenging to get over the next obstacle for me. So it's just, to me, that's really hard for me. That's really what's on my heart and challenging for this coronavirus thing that's going on.
Thanks for sharing, Daunte. And I would love to, as we even continue in dialogue, maybe if you feel a little bit more comfortable to kind of even share about some of your experiences with, some of the instability that you've experienced prior to this year, and some of, the wins and the joys of having that stability, and kind of how, the COVID-19 has impacted that. But thanks for sharing again. Anyone else want to tap in?
I will. My name is Romello. I just wanted to say, it's just for us, it's when we go to the store, it's just the thought that someone that had the coronavirus could have been there, and it's just that thought that your family could be in danger, because just for you going out to the store is scary. So that's just one of the main things that kind of scares me or something, because you don't know who has the virus and where it's at. So that's just what I want to share.
No, that's good. Thank you, Romello. That's really good.
I'll go ahead and go. I think this is really impacting me and the rest of us, because we're all trying to get used to this this new way of living, staying in our homes and stuff. And it's probably really difficult because all we want to do, especially as kids, and we just want to go hang out with our friends and, go watch movies and stuff like that. But with all this going on, it's, we can't really do that no more. So we're all just trying to convince ourselves to stay home and not be around other people, because the more that we are, away from other people, the faster that we can get back to regular society and how we were living before all this started.
Yeah, thank you, RJ.
Okay, I'll go next. My name's Gabe. I would just say that it's kind of been a little hard and a little rocky to, going through this, because it's like a little bombshell was dropped on like our day-to-day lives. Just everything is different. It's not normal, and we're trying to make a new normal out of it. But it's just like simple things like, not going to church or a youth group on Wednesdays, or like seeing your friends. It's hard to keep a positive mind when you're doing the same things every day, and it gets kind of boring. But yeah, it's a little rocky.
Yeah, it's like how many times am I going to keep doing this thing over and over?
Exactly.
You didn't probably already beat 2K about 10 times or whatever video games. Thanks for sharing, Gabe. Anyone else?
I can go.
I think I'll go ahead and take the wheel. So basically for me, it's just been it's been harder on the education part, trying to deal with school and adjust to the online stuff. Cause like on my own, I'd say that I have a pretty good work ethic, but at the same time, it's kind of harder to learn, just because like being in a classroom environment has always been better for me personally. Being able to like talk to the teacher and not having to email them and wait hours for a response on a question about a problem that I have. So it's been pretty challenging just on the education side. I don't know if other students have that same challenge, but that's just how I'm feeling.
Thanks so much for sharing. Thank you. Sophia, you want to go ahead and go?
Yeah. I'm learning a new empathy for others around me. My schedule hasn't changed from day to day as much since I've been able to work from home, but I'm seeing the negative impacts of so many other people around me, even people that I don't know. Working at a church, we're expected to make care calls every week to check in on our church members. And it's hard to hear how many people are struggling over the phone that I don't even know. I've never even met these people. And you're having to pray with them and hear them and hear their concerns. And it's hard. And you learn a new empathy for strangers that you've never even come in contact with,
Antonio, I think you're on mute.
You're right. I am on mute. I am on mute. Thank you. I was talking to myself in here. Did anybody else want to pop in before I kind of ask my next question? And so some of it, and you'll realize this as we kind of get into our conversation and we start conversing about experiences. You may realize that you have answered a question prior to it actually even being asked. And so feel free that if maybe you feel like you've already kind of asked, if you've already answered that question, or you feel like maybe you want to take a different perspective, don't feel like you have to engage in every single question. I think what's just imperative is we have diversity of thought. And so that's one of the things that I'm really going to push for in facilitating this conversation. But I do want to just give one more last call, just last minute check-in. As an educator, this is one of the most valuable parts of of working with young people. I guess they call it temperature check, of just making sure everybody's good. And if you need me to put somebody in headlock, let me know. Text me offline. No, I'm just playing. That was a joke. Anyway, okay. Here's my first question. And some of this was sort of derived from our conversation already. But I would love to hear what you've heard. So, a two-part question: what you heard and what you believe. And I think to myself, if you watch the news, I feel like every single day I hear, depending on what I'm listening to or who I'm listening to, the spectrum could be anywhere from like the world is going to end tomorrow, or as much as like, I'm good, I'm not social distancing, this don't apply to us, I'm good, I ain't never going to get sick. So I've heard, all spectrums. And so I just would love to hear like what you've heard, and even from like Sophia's perspective, where if maybe you're connecting with people, it's kind of like, what are people saying, and and like I would even say for me, a lot of the students that I'm working with, although COVID-19 is a very real thing, it is impacting our country and the world around us. But for a lot of the students and parents that I've been talking to, COVID-19 is the least of their worries, because all of a sudden mama has to deal with having all 6 of her kids in the house, and she doesn't know necessarily how to feed them, or doesn't have enough supplies. Or on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have young men that are in the house, or young women that are in the house, and like the fact that they're getting on their parents' nerve, the same is true for them. And so they're having to navigate beyond this idea of being in a space where their trauma was birthed or created. And so we'd love to just kind of hear what you've heard and what you believe in all that. Daunte, you want to go ahead and take a stab at that?
Yeah. I'll take a stab at that. So I heard multiple things about this thing. Like when I was going to school for a while, so before all this stuff started happening, I was going to school, and my teacher was like, "This coronavirus stuff, man, it's getting real. It's getting really real." And like people were making jokes about it, all kinds of stuff. So I was just like continuing with my everyday life, just doing what I had to do. Then like some of my teachers just stopped coming to school. Like didn't come. It was just me and a bunch of substitutes in my other classes. So I was just like, if my teachers are not coming to work, then what makes me think that I should come to school? If it must be a bigger situation going on. And so truly, I do believe this coronavirus stuff is real. This is not a game. It is killing off people. And it's sad to just hear, we have someone living downstairs, renting out the bottom level of our house, and she's a nurse. And she just tells me like the other day she had to go in and literally have a FaceTime call with someone's family, letting them know that their family member is gonna die. And so it's really sad, and it's horrible to see just homeless people out on the street with no place to go with all this stuff going on, or can't even go into McDonald's or anything to get anything to eat because of the doors are closed because of coronavirus. So all this to me, it just I feel like it's a big weight on a world. It's just a weight, and it's hard for people, and especially for people that are having hard times with just like suicide and things like that. This is just a hard moment for people that are going through things like that too. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Daunte. And it'd even be good as we continue through this dialogue of what you've heard and what you believe in, maybe even how your perspective has shifted from maybe the first introduction of kind of COVID-19 to our community, and maybe how like the first information that you heard to now where you believe, kind of how your process. So Simone, you want to go ahead and maybe you have a thought on any of that?
Well, I've been hearing a lot of things too about COVID, but I just really think about the things I've heard even before this started, like as far as like homelessness goes and stuff like that. Like we don't have the resources, we don't have this, we don't have that. But in this time of struggle, it suddenly appears out of thin air, and suddenly we get the funds and we get the resources. And it's just really hard to have hope in the goodness of people when the only time we really bond are in times of struggle, and maybe you don't call that person or family member as much as you would during a crisis like this. So that's very sad, but the positive outlook on all this is that we just have more times to spend with our families, and everybody's really bonding together. It's very surprising. So.
Thank you so much for sharing, Simone. And if I can just kind of comment on that, I think what you said is so true. But I think sometimes we wait. I think I heard Master P say this, but sometimes we wait till it's too late to give people their roses. It is sad that we wait until a tragedy or we wait to a pandemic for us to realize, some of the things that are important to us and how imperative it is and consequential it is for us to be focusing on our family. Although, like you said, the bright side of it is we do have more time to kind of get to realize, to kind of recalibrate. But you're right. I think it's sad that sometimes it takes these moments. But at the same time, I'm grateful for them. But you're right. I think we have to do better as a society and a community that this is something hardwired in our DNA, that we don't wait for something bad to happen before we connect. So thank you for sharing. Nothing of value goes without tension. So I just could imagine, the power of this conversation. And I just want to encourage each and every one of you that, in this life, you will have problems. You're going to experience tension and people who will come against us. And I think all of that is designed to be a distraction. And I think it's one of the biggest things. I have a 6 and 3-year-old, and I'm always talking about distractions and how distractions have a way of taking us away from our course. And let this just be a living, breathing example that we live in a world that someone will intentionally use their time to distract and to deter us from what we know is important and valuable to us. And so I just want to encourage each and every one of you and proud of you for just continuing to stay on this call, for all of the friends that pop back on. I know we lost some friends in the call, but like I said again, I'm just so proud of each and every one of you. Okay, kind of returning. I think the last person who was speaking, if I'm not wrong, maybe was it Judea.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool too, Jodea, that because when you were talking and you started talking about your faith, one of the questions that I wanted to ask is, as it pertains to what you've heard, how have you leveraged what you've heard through your belief system?
Just knowing that God is over this whole thing, that He's in it, and He's healing people, and He's showing Himself to people that need to see Him, and that we can just be a light to we can be a light to others that don't know Him, and yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. What about you, RJ?
After everything that happened, could you just repeat the question one more time?
Yeah. So the question was, what have you heard, and what do you believe in all that? How have you navigated, like in your own perspective? How have you landed to your belief system, vice versa? Maybe the initial information that you received to now where you are now.
Yeah. So before everything, like before it all got to the U.S. and stuff, I had some of my teachers talking about it. And kind of like what Daunte said, like everyone was taking it as a joke and stuff and wasn't really making it serious. And neither was I, because it wasn't really impacting me. At the time, I didn't really pay too much attention to it. And after what all the media was saying, like, oh, it'll stay over there, it'll pass. It's just something that someone else is dealing with. And that now that that I'm personally dealing with this, and we all are, it's affecting us in some way. It's definitely changed the fact that this is really something that's happening, and we just got to stay together and united to get through it. And it's going to be everyone, counting against each other and holding each other accountable to help. That's going to help us get through all this.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. How about you, Gabe?
Yeah, if I could just pick up on that. Yeah, like what RJ said, just about the coming together part, it's been, a big factor being able to still text my friends, check up on them. And just like Judea said, my faith has been, it's been holding me down and keeping me pretty strong because it's just something I can look towards to know that we will get through this and there is a light at the end of this tunnel and that it's going to keep us strong. But what's really been helping me is the news and the media is always going to be sprouting out the bad news and the negative things that are going out like around our county and our community. But just kind of looking at the positives, like our daily averages are going down in Pierce County, just from 80 to 20 now. It's just good to like look at the better things of this than kind of put yourself down with the negatives and just keeping my faith strong. So that's what I've been doing.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Let's see, did I miss any students? Okay, well, here's the next question, and I think to some degree you kind of all have chimed in on this, but maybe if you can clarify a little bit, how has the COVID-19 virus really impacted your life, maybe from a social level? Like how are you continuing to engage with your friends, or maybe it hasn't happened? Have you been isolated? How has this impacted your life socially? Can you no longer go to the club anymore? Some of you guys are laughing. That was a joke. but yeah, how has this impacted your life socially? Let's see here.
I'll go ahead.
Go ahead, Daunte. Thank you.
Well, sort of social distancing for me, I'm not 100% social distancing myself from my family members or anything like that. Like on Easter, I went to my auntie's house and we had dinner at her house for Easter. I feel like this is a challenge of family on holidays and things like that. I feel like just, all this stuff to end up happening to us, it's just really difficult for people to just stop doing what they were doing before and just get on this new path. So, I mean, it's like, it is going to take a little while for us to all, fall in line and do what's right for this. But then again, I feel like we do have to live life at the same time. We have to fight for what we think is right too.
No, that's good. Thank you. Thank you, Daunte, for sharing that. RJ, you want to go ahead and pop in there?
Yeah, so for me, I've been doing a pretty decent job of social distancing. I mean, I've only been around my family, so I think I've done pretty well. But it's definitely been harder not like being able to see my friends, because I know at school I was really social and I was always talking with someone, always hanging out with my friends and stuff. So now only being able to be in one place 24/7, it's really taking a toll. I'm not really keeping up with some of the people that I used to be able to just talk with every day. But I think just trying to, I guess, keep all my friends, like together and stuff. And it's definitely going to be a challenge to try and, continue all of this. But I'm sure that eventually I'll be able to, come back and I'll be just like it was before.
Thanks for sharing, RJ. Thanks for sharing. Gabe, what about you? You're not clubbing, huh?
Yeah, no, sir. Yeah, it's just been kind of like just a chill, low key matter of weeks and soon to be month. But it has, like RJ said, it has taken a toll. You know, going to the same school with RJ, being close friends, you know, we were doing things after school every day, just always had something going on. And with sports going on and youth groups and churches and things like that, it's just our day-to-day things are kind of now like kind of chiseled down to like FaceTimes on Wednesdays for youth. And it's just gotten to the point where it's sad to see that this is how like the normal is growing to be. But you know, just taking the day-to-day steps on kind of just keeping myself away from my friends and my family for the most part, except for my mom. But yeah, just social distancing and keeping my space clean and, you know, protecting myself, because that's really all we can do right now, and just keeping positive. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Gabe. What about you, Simone?
I've been doing a pretty good job at social distancing because of my parents, because they're not really letting me go anywhere. But yeah, social distancing, it's really kind of taking a toll on me. I'm really reliant on my outside relationships, and I've realized that being in quarantine. And I'm just trying to turn everything negative into a positive. And I'm about to go off to college, so I can't really rely on the people that I'm so-called relying on right now. So it's just a good thing that I could take this time and focus on myself and really become independent while I'm still surrounded by my family. So.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Romello, what about you? Would love to get your perspective.
The perspective of how I see the coronavirus.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, what have you heard about coronavirus? You know, what do you believe? How have you shifted maybe in what you've believed or what you've heard? You know, how are you finding your true north in all of this?
Well, at first, you know, like I didn't really care for it that much, but like as it got bigger, I mean, it kind of like once I saw like stuff got canceled, like the first school I got canceled, I just like I missed a couple days of school just because I was like kind of frightened. Then on my birthday, I couldn't really go anywhere.
Is the freezer shut all the way?
On my birthday, I couldn't go anywhere.
Freezer? Okay. Probably need to reposition.
But everyone, please mute. Please mute your call, your phone, unless you are the person speaking. Thank you.
But as I was saying, like I didn't really get to have a birthday or anything, so like kind of just stayed home and yeah, and then yeah, I don't know.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Let's see here. Who did I miss? Did I get everyone in that last question? I miss anybody? Jadea, did I have you chime in on that one?
No, you didn't get me yet.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
But I was just saying though, like it's been really hard, like not being able to see my friends, and I think like face-to-face contact, like talking to people in person is important. And that I'm really thankful for like Facebook Live, because we can still do church on there every Sunday, and also for youth on Wednesday. So I'm thankful for all that during this time. We just have to make like positive out of all this and just still have faith in God, and eventually this whole thing is gonna end.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Jadea. Daunte, did you already go?
Yes, I did go, Antonio. You got me go first.
Okay. I wanted to make sure. Okay. Next question is, man, on an educational level, when you think about school, I know not everyone's in the Tacoma Public School District. I know, for example, like Simone's in the 5-school district, and I know that they have transitioned to doing the online model. I know other school districts, they are making it mandatory, that students engage through online education. But maybe for the Tacoma Public School District, I know where it's kind of quasi whether or not they're not holding students accountable for the schoolwork. So just on an educational level, how has this impacted just your educational journey, specifically for those that are seniors in the call?
Honestly, this is it's horrible. Honestly, it's just like I am not even 100% sure if I'm gonna graduate this year. I would like to have all hope and say I will, but um, I don't know. It's a challenging situation, and there's not much we can do about it. But what we can do, we just have to make sure that we're staying on top of what we have to get through, and make sure we're doing our little school stuff that we can do to get our grades like we want them to be. So yeah, honestly, that's what I've just been doing, is just trying to stay on top of my schoolwork and get everything done that I need to get done so I can graduate on time.
Thanks for sharing, Daunte. What about you, RJ?
Yeah, so for me, my school, where they're not making the work mandatory, and they're not like sharing that out to the students, and I'm glad that they're not, because there are the kids that have the attitude towards school where they don't really like it, and knowing that this work that they're going to be getting over the next few months, they technically don't have to do. They would take that and they wouldn't do it at all. And I think that I'm glad that they're giving it to us, because now we won't be missing a whole semester of school and have to come back next year without all this information that we would normally get. But it is definitely harder trying to understand new concepts and trying to figure out things on my own, really, and trying to rely on my friends who don't really understand it either. It's definitely harder to be in contact with some teachers, and it's definitely going to be challenging trying to get through all of this. But I'm at least glad that we're having it, so that way we know what to expect for next year, and however long this continues.
Hey, RJ, quick question. How do you foresee COVID-19 changing and maybe even impacting, even when we find our new norm or whatever that is, how maybe our educational system will change? Do you foresee us adjusting to, in the case of something like this happening in the future? How do you see it shifting, if at all?
Well, I think that because we're doing this now, we will be better prepared for something like this in the future. So if for some reason we would have to be out of school for a long period of time, they would at least know like how to be able to give us the information that we need to learn for the rest of the time. So it'll probably adjust just to how they are teaching and how they're helping students and helping them to understand the concepts that they're trying to teach.
That's good insight. Thank you. Okay, what about you?
Yeah, so going to Curtis, we've just kind of been online schooling, same. But for me, I know it's been kind of like a scary feeling because, first semester I was kind of having a little rocky thing with my grades. So it's scary to think, even though I'm not a senior or anything, being a sophomore still, grades mattering. Just knowing what's really going to come of this and how they're going to work it out, and if there are ways to, get back on track, because if you had a bad you know, if you had a few bad grades first semester, like what's going to come of that? You going to pass? Or like just not knowing what the future holds is kind of scary. But just relying on people and the teachers to, you know, kind of keep it going smooth, and then just picking up on, you know, the online schooling and just making sure I'm doing that day-to-day stuff.
How important, Gabe, is when you think about, like, when I think about my educational journey, so much of it had to do with like group settings or being, you know, like collective reasoning. I think so much of what I learned, I said some of my most effective learning happened in group setting. And so now that maybe that element is removed, how are you continuing to lean into that? Is that a part of your educational journey? I mean, are you kind of like, I learned it on like a lone wolf, you kind of learn it on your own, or how
Definitely.
How has that impacted, you know, not having that group element?
So I would probably best say that my best work is mostly in a group setting. Just because being such an extroverted person, I love to kind of like hear what others have to say and what they have to think, and then adjusting my ideas to that, kind of just learning from others, and learning from our cumulative mistakes. But it's really had a damper on me because, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I do use the teacher as a resource a lot. I'm asking a lot of questions because I'm trying not to fall behind. And having teachers as resources are really, like, they're amazing at school. But you know, being home and being on my own, it's been kind of hard to keep track of, like, okay, what's going on now? Like, what is my priorities, and what do I need to get done, like, now? And like, am I doing this correct? So it's been kind of hard to switch to this online schooling versus the in-school setting.
No, that's really good, Gabe. I often say one of the most valuable, you know, resources we have is relationships, and learning to navigate and lean on our relationship with educators, I think oftentimes is determines our success. And, you know, even beyond kind of retaining the information that's presented in the classroom, is our ability to connect with the educators, or those who, the gatekeepers of sometimes the grade book, as I would say. So thanks for sharing.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go for it, Romello. And then Simone, I'll tap you in next.
So one thing is how he said if it happens again, we might be prepared. I mean, we don't really know how the COVID works, so there might be a COVID 20 or COVID 21. So like next year, a new COVID. So like it does prepare us. But the one thing is, on online schooling, since all my brothers are home, it's kind of like a distraction. So it's a little bit harder than like if only my school is closed down. It's a little bit harder to like be able to focus when you're trying to do your work and stuff. But yeah, that's what I gotta say.
Romello, I think you pointed out such a great perspective that I think as educators we have to hear, because I know I specifically work with students where, you know, they share a room with 4 or 5 siblings, and I've worked with students where they don't have a bed, you know, in their room with, you know, 7 or 8 people. And so trying to do homework, you know, where you have all your siblings are home, aunties, grandmas, cousins, and you have this house full of individuals, it's really hard sometimes to focus on the idea of doing school, and the Starbucks isn't open to create this workspace for you to work on your homework. So sometimes just the distraction in the environment sometimes can be a deterrent in itself from keeping us moving forward in our educational journey. So thank you for pointing that out. It's really huge. What about you, Simone?
I've been working with the counselors all year to make sure all my credits are transferable, and it's just really stressful during this time when I have a question and I have to contact 8 different.
Hey, Simone, hold on one sec. There's some background noise, like your audio is like echoing. I don't know if anyone else can hear that, but
Yeah, some feedback.
There's some feedback.
Is there feedback now?
Yeah. It sounds like somebody's cutting. You got a barber over there? Somebody cutting some hair in the back room?
Do you have both your phone and your computer on? Because that can cause that feedback as well.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Try now. Go ahead.
Can you hear now?
Yeah, go ahead, Simone. Go ahead.
Oh, so it's just really hard to get a response when I have to go through like 8 different people for one answer. And it's just really like scary to think that my first year of college like will be virtual.
You know, Simone, one of the things I remember, you know, we were talking earlier this week, how your principal in particular was a little worried about some of the seniors and them not getting the proper credits to kind of transition into college. But one of the things that you did is you took it in your own hands to call the counselor at your school or your admissions, and they end up telling you that, hey, you know, we understand that we're in this global pandemic, and they just reassured you that you didn't have to overburden yourself in this season of crisis to worry about, you know, taking on this extra school load that, once again, that very minimal of minimalistically students are being held accountable for that school. So as a senior, I just want to applaud you for taking the time, because you could have been overwhelmed and listened to the principal and be like, all right, well, I guess I got to take all these classes and burden yourself, but then you end up calling your admissions. So I would just encourage any senior that is transitioning into college to make sure that you have that conversation with the admissions or with your education institute, because maybe Spelman understand that there's a pandemic, but maybe TCC is like, nah, you better get them grades popping. So just make sure that you're having that conversation or in conversing with those institutions, so that you are ensuring that you do not walk in the first day of school, August, September, whatever it is, in the unknown. So let's create some clarity around your educational experience. But I would really hate for, you know, any of our seniors to transition and to not be admitted into their university because a few classes. So just be aware of that. Make sure you're conversing with both your school institution and also the college. Jodea, do you want to go ahead and add anything?
Yeah, like I think during this, it's really hard, like getting a hold of teachers and stuff like that, because I'll send a message and then like the teacher won't get back to me, like worse, like next day or like a couple hours later if I need help, because I'm a person that like asks a lot of questions during class and stuff, and it's been hard getting a hold of teachers. But I also just making it like bringing out the positive, like going at my own pace, like not feeling rushed, like having to like get an assignment done because I have more time to do stuff. So just going at like my own pace through work.
Jodea, thank you so much. Such a great perspective. I just was just a few weeks ago talking to some of my friends in the private school sector, and they were saying that, you know, as soon as they got the announcement that schools will be closing, they didn't skip a beat. They were already prepared for the online model. But one of the things that he was saying is that he was worried that that COVID-19 would forever change the educational system for them, because what they realized is, although young people are so tech savvy and technologically advanced, that a lot of the educators were not prepared or equipped to handle the turn. And so, you know, students like yourself that are tech savvy and are sending emails and you know, and expecting a certain level of virtual support, they just haven't been getting, because some of the educators are, you know, still in the industrial revolution kind of idea of transmitting information. You show up to class and that's the way that you pass school, and I'll get back to you through email if I need to. And so I think you pointed out a great perspective that I think this is going to require educators to be more resilient and innovative in the classroom setting, and making sure that we're providing more of a virtual model that I think is equitable for our students. So thank you for pointing that out. Did I miss anybody? Did I miss anybody on that last question? Okay, well, I want to go ahead and ask, kind of transition to the next question. And Gabe, you pointed this question out that I think is so important, is how has COVID-19 impacted you emotionally? And this is a two-part question, because I think awareness is huge, but I think the other thing is what are you doing, and maybe even resources that we can help. We can help you in resourcing you to make sure that in this season that you are valuing self-care. Being in the house for extended hours, I could only imagine, how it's made me feel. So I could only imagine how it's making, young people. And so anyway, the question is, how have you been doing emotionally? And in tandem or synonymous with that question is, like, what are you doing to manage your emotions, and maybe any resources that you may need, or it may not even be for you, but just maybe some of your friends, like, for example, last Wednesday, we had a friend of mine who's a clinical supervisor for CCS. She did a Zoom call with, a couple dozen students, and just walked them through some very practical, informed trauma care stuff, and just equipping young people on, how do they navigate these seasons. Because, one of the things that one of our students who was on our call, JJ, was talking about, how a lot of young people and his friends, now that they were back home, they have more exposure to medicate, whether it be alcohol, drugs, and now that they have access to them, that he's realizing that a lot of his friends are picking up bad habits. And so that was one of the things that Nolani was talking about, that in her work and working with young people that are in crisis, that she was seeing such an influx in young people picking up some level of medicating and on different levels. So how are you guys doing emotionally? Daunte, you want to go ahead and answer that, or any?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer that. Just me emotionally, I think I'm doing pretty well. I just been keeping myself, like, I've been starting, like, doing my own delos every morning, and so that keeps me, that just keeps me in a happy mood, and, like, reminds me that God is still there and He's moving for me. And so, yeah, just getting up and just practicing that just, like, every day, it just makes my morning better. It just makes my whole, like, it changes my whole mood. And so I'm thankful that I can continue to do that and stuff like that. You're muted.
Simone, what are your thoughts on that? You there, Simone?
It appears we had some folks who dropped off, and they are getting back into the call now.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So what was the question again?
Yeah, the question is, how are you doing emotionally? And just as important of awareness, I think also the question of how are you with managing, like how you're doing emotionally, how are you managing your emotion? And what resources are you using? How are you coping emotionally with everything that's going on? What's keeping you your true north and keeping you steady? And so.
Well, I've been relying on the church a lot lately. The warriors have really been helpful during this time. And can you guys hear that?
Yeah, I think you have. Yeah, I think it's echoing because you're on two different.
Yeah, if you're on
okay.
a phone and a computer or two different devices, you'll want to walk away from one of them. Maybe if you're on a phone, step away from the other device so you can speak through the phone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Do you have headphones?
Yeah, hold on, let me get those.
Yeah, try putting on headphones. It might be a little bit easier for everyone to hear you.
Okay.
Good call, Daunte. Jody, I want to go ahead and pop in and hop in there. What are your thoughts on that? How are you doing emotionally?
Emotionally, oh, like just reading my word. Like if I'm ever like feeling down, because I can't really see nobody. Like every morning I'll like do a devotion, and then like just reflect on that throughout like the weeks we've been quarantined, and yeah, that's just that.
Good. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. Hey, what about you?
Just kind of like how Daunte and Judea said, just kind of staying in the book, just going through and reading some scriptures and just some stories about how, mainly about the topic of just keeping my faith strong. And I know exercise to me has been a big part of it too, like just going on a small walk outside my apartment, or I know I sent RJ a workout video. Turned out to be too much for me, but just kind of trying to stay active and trying to keep my mind just going, focusing on bigger things than this, more positive things. But yeah, definitely God has been a big part of this.
You guys trying to get those beach bods by the summer, huh? Hey, well, I'm scared of y'all. Let's see here. What about Nicholas? Thanks for joining our call. The question that we've proposed is just, how is everyone coping emotionally? What have you been aware, maybe of emotionally that maybe, prior to 2 weeks ago, maybe something you have been revealed in yourself, but just how have you been coping?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been out here in Boston, Massachusetts, and I've pretty much had my semester kind of halted because of this entire stuff. So I'm in my final semester of college right now, and I think having just that change was a big inflection point for myself, just emotionally and in terms of how I've been approaching my overall academic strategy. I think there's been kind of, I think this entire thing has kind of had the rug, it's just like having the rug pulled from under your feet, right? And you're kind of forced to really rethink just like your day-to-day stuff. So, I started off my first part of the semester, I was on campus at U of R, Rochester, in New York. And, I was just so focused on getting my school stuff done. I wasn't really focused too much on myself emotionally. I wasn't really thinking about my mental state. It was just this constant kind of push forward, get it done, push forward, get it done, each assignment. And I think being now just off campus and having to do online courses and, spend a lot more just free time, just having a lot more free time, it's really forced me to kind of decompose all those repressed feelings and emotions that I don't really actively get to address during the school year. I think I'm still kind of in the process of doing that. I can't say upfront I have any like meaningful insight or advice that came from doing so, but I would definitely say, having time to just think through things and like understand kind of the second and third and fourth levels of what you're feeling, right? Like during the school year, you feel anxiety, but why do you feel that anxiety, right? Like what's going on really deep down, what are those triggers that are kind of leading to it? What are those kind of lower level feelings that we don't always actively address? They're kind of ultimately even affecting your day-to-day behaviors. So I think those are kind of the big things I've taken away so far. Again, unfortunately, I haven't really had an opportunity to come up with any deep, meaningful thing to say about it yet. I just know that water's run deep, right? You know, there's a lot more going on than what I expected, and it's good. You know, it's good to have those moments of reflection and introspection.
How real is the fear surrounding a lot of seniors that are graduating from college? I've had a few conversations with seniors in college. My brother's getting ready to graduate from Eastern Washington, and one of the real fears is, okay, now that I'm graduating, the idea is that I should go out into the job market and start looking for a job, but the reality is, with everything shutting down, there are a lot of fears surrounding, what will my, the next 6 months, or what will the next year of my life look like, being unemployed, and what will that transition look like? And so maybe how is that is it, the fear of maybe is that real, something that you're experiencing, maybe for yourself or maybe some of your peers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to your point, I'm reluctant to kind of see it as the economy shut down, but it's definitely slowed down for sure. And I think, the markets haven't been very conducive to recent, people who are about to graduate and recent graduates, with just all these companies kind of furloughing workers and such. So there's definitely kind of this persistent fear among my own peers and people I know of jumping in, even applying to jobs, right? Because they fear they won't get it. I've had friends lose offers. Myself, I have a full-time offer, but they were pretty much rescinded mine as well because they are struggling with all this COVID stuff. The best insight I've probably heard so far is that there's all these people who are coming out of college just bright, intelligent, with this kind of youthful fire, and they're coming in when the world's pretty much asleep, and I think the best thing that they can do for themselves, right, is of course, be opportunistic, right? Do everything you can, be open-minded and willing to not necessarily, settle, but definitely, if an opportunity seems decent comes along, at least in the short term, that might be the next opportunity you see, right? That might be the only opportunity you see for a minute. And so taking advantage of those things is a really good thing. On the other hand, though, there's people who don't have that opportunity, right? And I think sometimes that means, okay, what can I do in this time where I'm not necessarily getting income, I'm not necessarily earning a wage, that can help me grow or expand my skill set. And so I've had a lot of friends, myself included, who's jumped into learning new stuff. For myself, it's been doing more stuff with artificial intelligence and machine learning. For some of my other friends, it's been developing some new soft skill sets, right? Some's just been practicing interviewing, right? But doing whatever they can so that whenever this comes to an end, which it will, right, they're ready to go. And so I think the best mindset you can have is be opportunistic and, treat it more like a race rather than just accepting whatever comes at you, right? Just being ready to jump in, do whatever you can, being prepared and stuff.
Nicholas, thank you so much for sharing such a phenomenal word, because you're right that this is, I'm a firm believer that, these are the seasons that I believe that the innovators, reposition themselves to get to front of the line. And those that are looking for ways or are looking at this season as an opportunity are those that will win. I think those that will thrive, and those that will make it on the other side, I think, and reposition themselves as leaders. And I'll kind of do a popcorn question. I'll start with you, my guy, Broken Lemon. Man, how have you looked at this season of this challenging season that we're in, the season of uncertainty? How have you looked at this season or as opportunity? What are some of the opportunities you see?
Right. So I actually do a little bit of landscaping. I guess you could call it a business that I run. It's called Three Brothers and Sometimes Friends. And so we do yard work, like mowing the lawn, we clear flower beds. The other day, some guy asked us to break down a fence for him, and so we did that, and just stuff like that. So a lot of for me, it's been at least the income. It's been really good just because people don't really, they're staying in the house. They don't really want to go outside. They ask us to come do their yard work for them, and so it's been pretty good. Just looking at just money wise, so it's been pretty good personally. I can't complain. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing, because I actually got a job for you. So you got the tools to cut down some shrubbery?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna connect offline.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And anybody else? Romello, anybody else want to pop in? What kind of popcorn? How have you looked at this season as an opportunity? What's the opportunity you're seeing in this season?
Well, I kind of started a YouTube a little bit, and like sometimes when I just play my game, I live stream, and I make a couple dollars per stream, which is pretty nice. So it's nice because like more people are online, so like I get more I get more attention when I stream, so it's kind of better. And yeah.
That's good. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share on that?
I will. I would just say like it's kind of reassuring to look back on, like because this is something we've never faced before, and we've all talked about how it's been like huge on us. Like I'm not working at the moment right now. They're giving everyone that's not a minor the hours, so income hasn't been really too good, but it's going to the people that truly do need it. But I look back on it as like just kind of being thankful for the things that I do have rather than the things I don't. So in a way, there is a positive aspect of it that I look upon that just kind of keeps me going.
That's good. That's great. Go ahead, RJ.
Yeah, so for me, this has really been a huge opportunity to become more independent and to prepare myself for life after high school, because I know I'm not going to be able to have, someone right there that I can just lean on to help solve my problems. So it's definitely helped me to be able to problem solve more things on my own and be able to find more opportunities and to get more stuff done for myself.
That's great. That's great. Daunte or Daunte, you guys want to tackle that question or add any input?
Yeah, I'll add some input to that. I would just say like with all this stuff going down, I've been having some opportunities open up for myself too. There's just this guy he's a firefighter but he took a break from doing that, and so he's been just stuff like that. And the other day, for a couple days last week, he needed my help like scraping off paint off the house, and he was giving me like $15 an hour to do that. So I mean, it's been really cool to have opportunities like this open up.
Oh, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. Today, want to before I close that question down, you want to pop in there?
Yeah. I just think like during this time, like it's like good to keep yourself busy. So like for me, I've been doing a lot of like yard work outside. Like we just planted a bunch of plants in my backyard and some trees. So like I've been just keeping busy doing that, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks for sharing. Okay, so here's kind of the last series of question, and I'm going to do something where as young people we don't always give you the opportunity to do, and that's to give feedback to the adults, and And if you need to go, if we need to have your parents get off, I'll just play. No, but I wanted to just create a space where I think it's imperative that from your lens, whether it be, things that you need, like your day, like on a day-to-day basis, what are some things, that as adults we can do a better job of. And it could be anything. It could be like, hey, I want a high five, or hey, I know we're social distancing. That doesn't mean emotional distancing. It may be, I need help with my math homework, or whatever it may be on any spectrum. But I just want to encourage you to kind of give us as adults, and it could be like the adults in your life. It could be maybe respectfully those who are in power, and things that maybe you see that, like resources that we could be providing. So just would love to get some feedback.
I'll go first on that. I feel like with the part for adults and just having them, like, I guess, communicate with us more about like what you guys are doing and what word you guys are getting from, like, I don't know, your higher ups. Just give us a little like insight on what's going on, what the next steps that are going to be are, just that type of thing. And being able to communicate with us, the younger group, I guess you could say, you're just communicating with us about, what's going on and how we go about this in the next steps to take. So that's really it for me.
That's really good. No, that's phenomenal feedback. Thank you so much. Anybody else want to pop in there?
It was cutting out for me. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, just I think sometimes we don't do the best of job as adults of asking for feedback. So really would just love to hear any constructive feedback that you may have for whether it be like adults in your sphere or in your circle or community, or just things that you've seen holistically. Just if you could speak for your peers to adults, what do you think? Kind of give us some feedback, some things that we can be doing better. Whether it be, I heard a student tell me that social distancing doesn't have to be emotional distancing. So just whatever level that may look like or mean for you.
I would say, well, I've actually had a pretty good run-in with teachers responding to me, like if I need help on a question, just because I am somebody that does need a lot of help. But what I would say is, yeah, like how you said, social distancing doesn't have to be emotional distancing. I know they have a lot of students and they have everything, and not even just teachers, but mentors and youth leaders. Just I would like to see like more like Zoom calls like this, whether it be with like youth groups or just a one-on-one call, just kind of see like how everyone's ground is holding, and just how individuals are doing on themselves, and making sure that it's not just all like school or this and that, but like, how are you doing?
It's good. It's really good. Thank you for that, Gabe. Thank you. Anyone else?
I can go.
Oh, go ahead, Daunte.
I'll go ahead and share. I just say for me, I've been having a little bit of a hard time with like at home a little bit, because a lot of parents are being like, their jobs and stuff has been like cut off and they're not being paid at the moment. So it's just been a little bit more difficult on like, I'm trying to get better at myself on like working on little things. Like when I'm done, like using my light, make sure I'm turning off my light, or like if there's like water that's running for no reason, make sure the water's cut off, make sure I'm doing stuff around the house that's being more considerate to my parents, because I know I'm not paying any bills right now currently. So I just want to make sure I'm like respecting them in the best way. But then again, sometimes it's like, it's hard for me to get them to understand different points and stuff. So
good, Daunte. So good. So good, bro. I think what you just said is so powerful because what you're talking about is looking inward for the solution and realizing that each and every one of us have an opportunity. And that's we could, do little things like at the Mosley house, right? That making breakfast for mom and dad or washing the dishes. I mean, it does not cost us anything to be nice to our parents, to be kind to our parents, to take out the trash, to mow the lawn, to not be asked 10 times to do something, right? Like just in itself relieves a little bit of stress for parents, right? So I think, little things like that we can be doing as young people is lightening the load for, like you said, for your parents, that you realize that they're wearing a lot of stuff right now. They're having to navigate through a lot of different things. So I think that's awesome that, we put the responsibility back on ourselves and say, hey, as much as we are going through stuff, we realize that our parents are experiencing something on another level. Because, I don't know. Well, I guess there are parents that ask their children to pay bills, but in my household growing up, I didn't have to pay bills. And so I think if that's your family dynamic, and I understand that's not everyone's. My older brother had to work a full-time job when he was in high school to help provide for our family. But because I didn't, I realized, man, I can wash dishes, I can cook dinner, because you ain't gonna send me out and work 40 hours, right? So I'm gonna do whatever I can in the house to ensure that I'm helping to, pick up my load. So great perspective. Anybody else want to pop in there?
And can I say one more thing?
Go for it.
I just think like for us, it's just like a big thing that we honor our parents too. Just value, like let them know how much we value what they do for us. Because in this moment of hardness, like honestly, I would say I just recently got adopted, and it's like the cost of adoption is like outrageous. It's really crazy, and just things like that. And so us like being like now being able to like we saved up a little bit of money, but now like stuff is going hard again. It's like a little bit more difficult, like for them to feel like they're like, was it worth it or something like that. And so sometimes I just have to remind myself, like, I just need to make sure I'm doing my best at all times to do what I'm doing, so I could be so he can see the best in me, And so that's why it's a little hard, I would say, yeah.
Good, thank you, Daunte. Anyone else pop in before we end our session?
Actually, I want to say something. So I'm actually a part of a group called Encourage, Empower, and Educate the Youth. And that's basically our goal. And we do a lot of stuff like this, and we talk about these same things. So I know Gabe had said that he would actually enjoy it if there was more Zoom calls like this. So I wanted to take the chance and say, or ask you guys if you would actually like to do another Zoom call like this. They won't be the same exact questions, but they might be similar. And just as a time to get whatever is on your mind out and have it as a safe space for us while we're doing all of this quarantining and stuff like that. So I would like to ask you guys' permission if you would like to do this again. I'll give you my number. So I don't know how many of you guys would like that idea. So just let me know.
So good, because you make me even think about, I think, resources every week, Wednesday and Friday, the male involvement program. We are at from 12:30 to 1:30 providing virtual mentorship. I know that there's a lot of different resources of organizations and groups that are providing kind of this space for young people to be heard. So I want to invite each and every one of you. I know you guys can go to the TacomaUrbanLeague.org and look at some of that information that's provided on resources. It's through MIP, and I know majority of this, you guys have my contact information. And if not, I can make sure that you guys get that, so I can please, I can send you that so that you know. You know how to get connected with us every week, but this Wednesday, 12:30 to 1:30, and it's every Wednesday and Thursday every week. So we'd love to get you guys connected. And we have Brian, we have four or five male mentors that pop in, and students from, from six, seven, to all the way to high school age. So that's another resource and platform. So. All right. Well, I would love to. I'm going to go ahead and turn the dialogue. That's the end of our time. I want to thank each and every one of you for just your time, and your perspective and your lens, and being transparent. But I'm going to turn the floor back over to Tawana and have her close out with any comments that she may have or anything that she wants to share. But thank you, each and every one of you guys.
Thank you so much, Antonio, and each of the panelists. You all did a great job informing us of your perspective, things for us to consider. Thanks for reminding us to loop you in, give you the insider information. I know I definitely try to do that with my family, and I think it's great to encourage us to, keep it real with you all, let you know the information so you can make choices and support the work and make very sound decisions. We have recorded this and we'll make it available online. I heard some really great ways that you can connect after this. I heard one of your peers provide an opportunity to do more Zoom calls. MIP has Zoom calls a couple times a week. We could definitely use your participation and your leadership. But I just want to thank you all for taking the time. Thank you, Metropolitan Development Council, for this amazing idea and opportunity. Thank you for all of the participants who stayed on the line, reconnected with us. We are a stronger community together, and Tacoma Urban League is just honored to walk this journey with each and every one of you. Pam, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I just also want to say thank you to everyone for participating. It was really very enlightening to listen to all of you. I heard a lot of common themes throughout what you all were talking about. I heard having to make adjustments. I heard that there is a level of uncertainty and sometimes fear, and also about how you are personally doing self-care. And it just really drove home how important it was for us to create this space for all of you to be to come together and talk about what you are experiencing. And this was definitely time well spent. I am so glad that we had this opportunity to do this. And Metropolitan Development Council also provides ongoing educational services. We have several programs, and our Upward Bound program is still operating right now, even though we are doing that virtually, as well as our talent search programs. And we just saw, Tawana and I, how important it is to join forces and provide this opportunity for everyone to have a voice, to be able to engage and interact with one another. So we're really glad that we did this, because coronavirus is really not a respecter of persons, right? And so we just need to make certain that we join forces and work together. So thank you again so much for participating. And also we give a big shout out and thanks for Antonio serving as the facilitator. All of you young folks, I'm again just so proud of you all. Thank you for making the time to be a part of this town hall that was the Millennial and Gen Z edition. Thanks again, everyone. We will send the link with the so that you can watch the recorded version of this. Thanks again, and everyone have a good evening.